Hello and welcome to Kids Corner. It's Shirley here with Sir Winston and Lammy. Lammy is one of the oldest animals in our household. My grandmother made him for my youngest sister and she gave him to my younger daughter. And so today we're going to learn how to make a sheep or lamb toilet paper roll animal in honor of Lammy and Leo, the lamb that lives with Christy Elizabeth. Now we're going to make a white one, but lamb and sheep come in all different sorts of colors. This is wool made out of sheep, and it really doesn't have any dye in it, so you can get an idea of the different colors that exist. Now, what you're going to need is a toilet paper roll, glue, black marker or crayon, a pencil, scissors, some scrap paper, and you're going to need something that's going to put hair, or if you want to call it fiber, on the animal. Sir Winston and I were experimenting yesterday. That's why Sir Winston's over there. We kind of got glue over our, in my case, hands, his paws. We were cleaned up, but he's decided he doesn't want the effort of cleaning up his paws today, so he's staying a long way from the glue. So it would be a good idea to have a wet face cloth here. We experimented with different things. We had tried stuffy material that I had from making Hope dolls, and you can see that one, and it is really, well, let's just say he looks like a sheep that hasn't had his wool sheared off yet. And we did make two other ones. This one we've made with macaroni and then painted the macaroni with white paint afterwards, and you can make one like that. To make it, you're going to need perhaps around about a little less than a quarter cup of macaroni, and I would suggest you start at the back, put glue, and then put macaroni around, paint it afterwards, and you would follow the general directions that I'm going to say. But the one that I'm going to show you how to make today is made with tissue paper. So let's get started. Now, if you don't have tissue paper, you may be able to use regular paper, even Kleenex or toilet paper. Now, you don't need a good sheet of tissue paper. In fact, it's almost better to have a used one. So what you're going to do to give it textures is you're actually going to ball it all up into a ball. Squeeze it. Then you can pull it apart. And what we're going to do is take little pieces, tear them off. So maybe this big or a little smaller. And we're going to crinkle them together in our fingers, almost like having another ball. And my suggestion is to do quite a bit ahead, because once you get into the glue, you don't want to have to stop to do this. So Sir Winston and I, because there was no glue involved, made some before we started. Now, before you start with the glue, find a toilet paper roll, and what you want to look for, where to start it, is you want to have a place where you don't have a seam running across the bottom, because we're going to cut out a little spot to create legs for him. So we don't have a seam there, so I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to draw like an upside down U. And I'm going to take my scissors, and small scissors work better for this, and I'm going to cut out my shape. It wouldn't be perfect because it's hard, cut at an angle. So here we are. And to remind ourselves that we don't want to cover up everything, we're going to make a little rectangle at the bottom of each of these. So you can use a pencil, and that will become our lamb's hooves. Now, we are going to keep the lamb's face rather plain, so we're going to draw the outline of it in to remind ourselves not to put our pieces of paper on it. And so we're going to make another U. That's kind of centered above our legs. And this U is not going to go to the top. So we're going to put a line across there. So there's the shape of the face that I've made. Now my suggestion to get the hang of it is to start on the back. And if you want to think ahead that you want to put a tail on them, because you can see Lammy has a tail, you can take a piece that's bigger and squish it into a tail and put that at the center of the back near the bottom. We're not going to start with our tail right away. So what we're going to do in the middle of the back is we're going to take our glue, go up and down so that it's spread out, and then we can use our fingers to spread out our glue. And now you know why Sir Winston and I had glue over our hands and palms yesterday. So take our little rolled up pieces of paper and we're going to pick them up and we're going to set them into the glue. And we can spread them out when we do this, and you can see it's already starting to stick to my fingers. And some of them will start to come a little unwound, and you try to press them down. And to remember, I'm taking my tail and I'll put my tail right about here so that I have a bigger piece. Now I'm going to continue doing this till I come around to the front, and then we'll have a better look at what's going on. Well, I finished getting all the fur on, and I'm back from washing my hands because I really was quite sticky. So our next step is to put the face and hooves on. So we'll start with the hooves. So you can take your black marker or your black crayon, and the little rectangle that you did at the bottom of where you cut out, we can color that in to give him his hooves. And there we go. Depending what you have, whether you have a crayon or a crayon marker, it will determine how fine you can work, what you can use for his eyes. If you have a look at Lammy here, Lammy just has kind of two big flattened circles for his eyes and almost a square for his nose. I have a fine marker, and on this one you can see for the eyes I had made an outside, well, it's not quite a circle, but it's almost like an upside down U, and left that white and then another one that filled in mostly with black, but with a little spot left. And then almost like a rounded triangle and for the nose, and I gave him a little bit for a face. But for this one, I went with kind of the lammy look of having kind of just big black eyes and a nose. So depending on how fine what you have to mark with is what you can do. I'll show you how to do the more fancy eye, because I think you can probably figure out how to do it all in one. So what we're going to do perhaps is we'll put the nose in first, because that we can put in the center area. We'll give it a little rounded at the top, come down around there, color it in. Now, what we're going to do, we want to make sure the eyes are sort of equal distance apart, and just off the edge of the nose and up a little bit. And we'll make an upside down U there. And again, just off the edge of the nose and at about the same level, another upside down U. And inside, we'll make a smaller one coming down to the same spot. And to remind ourselves to leave a little white space, we'll put a little circle inside, both sides, and then we'll color it in. Not the circle, that second U. And there's what it looks like. So we have our face, our hooves. We've kind of lost how big our tail is. So what's left from Lammy? The ears. So we'll take our scrap piece of paper. Let's cut a rectangle about this size. We'll fold it in half, and we can draw another U shape. So mine is like this, and we'll cut it out. And because we've folded it in half, when we cut it out, we are going to end up with two ears the same. So then what we're going to do is I'm going to move to kind of a scrap piece of paper to cover up my tablecloth, because I'm working with glue again, which can be a little messy. I've put a bead of glue across the top, and I'm actually going to just turn my other one over and spread it out on both sides. And we're going to put it just off the face, or just about the same level as the top of the eyes. And there we are with our lamb. Sheep and lamb appear quite a bit in the Bible. Sheep were very important to the early Israelites because they provided milk, they provided food and skin, and when they learned that they could shear them and then use the fiber to spin to make yarn and cloth, they were really quite valuable. And so you have different people who were shepherds in the Bible. David was a shepherd. They talk about the shepherds that the angels gave the message to when Jesus was born, that they could come worship him. And that's where you actually may have seen Lammy. Lammy goes to the grumpy innkeeper service at Grace every Christmas Eve, because Lammy is one of the lambs that the shepherds take in the play. Jesus also told a parable about sheep, that there was a flock of 100 sheep and 99 were safe, but one was lost. And so the good shepherd went off in search of the lost sheep. And they often talk about Jesus being the good shepherd. So there we have it with our lambs. And one of the things about the Bible, when they, in some of the stories, that we are like God's sheep. We are part of the flock. And so, like a good shepherd, God and Jesus go in search of those who are lost. Shall we have a little prayer together? If you could bow your head and repeat after me. Loving God, thank you for watching over us and coming to find us if we are lost. Thank you for the people who look after us and others. Help us to be kind and look after your world. Amen. And we'll see you next time at Kids Corner.